Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the Becoming Brave podcast. I'm your host, Mark Vins from the Brave Wilderness channel, and today I'm joined by my fellow adventurers, Asa and Andrew, the guys that follow me all over the world, filming crazy and exotic animals, along with some pretty intense bite sting experiments. And we're going to kick off this whole new series with unpacking one of the craziest videos we've ever filmed, Bitten by a giant Black Flame Centipede. You heard me right. This episode of the Becoming Brave podcast is brought to you by Summit Adventure Fuel. Fuel your adventures and make sure you get there. Finally in the studio.
At long last.
Excited to be here. We built this place with our bare hands.
Every little bit.
Yes.
All the wood paneling you see, we all did.
Yes.
It was a team effort, and finally excited to get to talk about some of the behind the scenes, what goes on the
Asa even picked out this bonsai tree right there.
I did.
It's a nice touch. Nice touch.
So anyway, we're not here today to talk about construction. We're here today to unpack probably the craziest bite sting video we've ever made, in my opinion. And it's ironically the most recent one, the centipede bite, the Black Flame Centipede from Borneo. And I think before we look back at some clips, let's kind of just unpack some of our memories of that fateful moment. What do you guys remember?
I remember being nervous for you. It's when you're behind the camera, there's definitely a sense of you do all your work to get ready to get the shot. And then when you're going through it, you're just, number one, focused on getting the shot. But there's also an element of worry. And just to say that set in pretty quickly after your reaction, because I think it's safe to say you have a pretty high pain tolerance. But to see what happened and the immediate reaction was that startled me at least.
Yeah, I want to come back to the pain tolerance thing. We'll talk more about that when we watch the video, because there's definitely some things that I want to address and when we do these behind the scenes discussions of our bite sting experiments. But in terms of that day, what was going through your mind, Asa? Besides sweating from every pore in your body. It's easily the sweatiest you've ever been.
It's sweatiest environment, but a lot of the time people say that the bite's going to be the worst one you've ever done or the worst sting, and there's always these horror stories.
Yeah. And
we've kind of got into a point where it's most of the stings were know how bad it might be before it actually goes down. And they're typically a little bit overhyped, I would say, from the stories we hear. This one I wasn't sure about. Once you saw this thing caught, it was pretty gnarly right off the bat of this thing actually wants to bite you rather than get away.
Oh, in terms of the fear and intimidation level, I put it right up there with a rattlesnake. Mm-hmm. It's large, they're fast, and the fangs are huge. Let's be real. A lot of the stings that we do, even something like a tarantula hawk, the stinger's only a quarter inch maybe.
Yeah.
These fangs were serious. I mean, they're half-inch fangs. They're serious hypodermic needles. I mean, there they are right there on the screen.
They're always out and they're on display.
Yeah, maybe half inch is a little. It's definitely bigger than a stinger.
They're thick.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is the width of your fingernail. It's pretty.
Do you guys think they're bigger than tarantula fangs?
Ooh,
because I put them on par.
Yeah.
With the tarantula bite. Yeah, in terms of size, but in terms of the movement and just the tenacity and the wittiness of the animal, it literally you can feel it thinking the way it moves. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And even compared to a snake, there are some redeeming qualities of what a snake looks like. Some people really think they're beautiful, and I think we're among those people, but I don't think there's much redeeming about this creature.
Nobody that at least we work with likes centipedes.
No.
That's a big misnomer about people who make wildlife content or any kind of nature content. They must think that everything under the stars is beautiful and I love everything. And I would say this, I find everything fascinating. I'm interested in centipedes. Do I like centipedes? No way. They are terrifying. You don't want a centipede anywhere near you if you can choose to. Like and some of the bites and bites that we've heard from other people are always unintentional. No one's ever intentionally being bit by these things besides me and Coyote. Max, who was working with us, told us a story of like he was camping out and a centipede got in his tent and bit him in the middle of the night, and he had no idea what it was until like the next morning. He thought it was a spider, and he was shaking out his bedroll and saw the centipede run off, and his whole neck was inflamed. He said he was seriously freaked out by how bad the bite got.
Yeah.
And this is somebody with us on the trip who's looking for centipedes for this purpose. And I think that's something that we should address too. Like, since Coyote got bit by the giant desert centipede and I started doing the bite sting index for Brave Wilderness, we've been looking. It's not for lack of trying. I think a lot of people maybe assume that we're out there like sort of like hand picking what we're putting on the index. And the truth of it is we're just going out and exploring on adventures, and we find what we find. And if it's something that we haven't tested yet, we'll do it. And that's certainly the case of this centipede bite video. But did I ever want to find the centipede? No. It just turned out to be something that came and presented itself on, I think it was the third to last day of production.
Yeah, it was right up at the
Borneo.
end.
So this was like the very last big video that we filmed on that like 4-week trip.
Yeah, we were pretty burnt out at this point too.
I would say that I think before we watch this video and play back, my biggest memory of this trip was the almost bite in Thailand. We were actually in Thailand the week prior to going to Borneo, and we found another giant centipede, the cherry centipede, which was not nearly as big. I would say maybe half the size?
Maybe like 3/4. It was still substantial, but it was definitely smaller than this one.
It's not a centipede that you want to give a hug, put it that way.
No.
And we were like literally setting up. We're like, okay, it's finally my time. Like years and years of doing this, and I'm like, eventually I'm going to have to do the giant centipede bite test. Not wanting to do it, but of course, as fate would have it, we find this centipede flipping for scorpions in Thailand. At least I think that's how we found it. I can't recall.
We were kind of in. We were underneath like this abandoned like school summer camp thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
it was the outpost.
We were in like rubble and debris. It was very like post-apocalyptic.
It was like a barrack.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah. I remember now. Yeah, and we were flipping for scorpions. We did find a small scorpion, but we also flipped a centipede underneath that building.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. You remember the dead bird down there? Okay, now it's all coming back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was gross. But flipped this centipede, and I was like, okay, here we go. Like, in terms of the straws that you could draw on a giant centipede bite, this one's not that big. So maybe I got lucky. And then of course we looked it up and we found out that it's the cherry centipede, which is a little bit more mild of a bite. So I was like, okay, let's go do it. And we had the table completely set up, like ready to go. We had even filmed the intro. Like I filmed quite a bit of the presentation at that point, like getting ready to take it out and do the bite test. And we had checked for holes. Like this was, we don't just like set up any old place. We set up in this place because there were lots of easy ways to recapture if there was an escapee, which this one, of course, since almost all centipedes do drop and escape because they're insanely flexible and very, very fast. But dropped off the table and literally found a hole out of nowhere. Like we had checked that spot probably 4 or 5 times over, all of us, saw no holes. This centipede, like from the second it hit that blade of grass, boom.
It's amazing how it figured out where that hole was. Like, imagine being just dropped on like a plane of grass, and it somehow knew exactly where the escape route was. It was something.
And I thought, geez, this really sucks because we'd spent all this time shooting. I felt bad, obviously, for the crew, but personally, I was like, man, maybe this is the universe saying, don't take a centipede bite. Maybe this is my get out of jail free card, and I should just take it and run. Which we did. We said, okay, we're gonna scrap this video. Obviously, we don't have a centipede. We did not find another one. We were looking, did not find another one. And I thought I was like, I'm off scot-free. I'm moving on to other things. We get to Borneo. We find a bunch of stuff. We find like giant forest ant. We find a giant, huge forest scorpion. And then on the third to last day, fate came a knocking, and we found that beast right there on screen. And I was like, dang it. I remember seeing it. And before I even alerted you guys, my first thought was, I can't believe I've got to go through this anxiety again, because there's like a lot of anxiety. A lot of times we catch these animals like the day before or at night, and then I have like a significant period of time to like,
mentally prepare,
mentally rev up. And then there's always like the moment of actually doing it, because like I can lock into production mode. I can lock into like what you guys are doing and vibe with like the camera work, and you can kind of put what you're going through like a little bit on the side. But then always comes the moment where you're actually going to like do the deed and take the bite. And I just was like, oh, I'm going to have to like literally sweat this out for another 12 hours. Because I think it was 12 hours from like when we caught it to when we actually did the bite. And we were drenched. That's one thing I would say. I'm curious to look back on this and watch is how soaking wet were we. I don't think I can recall a time being sweatier than this video.
Yeah. I've never had kneecap sweat before, but it was like all the pores on my body were literally just like spitting out liquid.
I remember looking at my hands afterward. Like, when you're in a swimming pool and you get pruned hands?
Yeah.
Like our hands were pruned. We were so soaking wet all day. It was wild. Anyway, so maybe we should watch a little bit of this and then we can start remembering some of the other details. Because it's been a while now. It's been, what, like a year? Almost, not quite a year.
Almost.
Yeah, almost
Close.
a year.
Yeah, almost a year. Shy of a month or two. But yeah, let's take a quick look back at Bitten by a giant centipede, the Black Flame variety. Here we go.
You okay, Mark?
No, I'm not. Oh my God, it burns so bad. Yeah, we made sure to put a good warning
From the
on
terrifying
this one.
mammoth wasp to the largest soldier ants on the planet, there is no shortage of painful bites and stings in the jungles of Borneo. But
I
nothing
love
could have
that Borneo
prepared
plate.
me
That looks
for the
good.
face-to-fang encounter with the true terror of this country.
Oh my God. Guys, I'm getting a centipede here.
You could see it in your face. The like, you're looking at it, you find it, and then but it's not like excitement. It is just like dread. It is just dread. Like there's that element of dread on your face that you can pretty clearly see.
Yeah, it was. I just couldn't believe it. We spend like a lot of effort. I hopefully it goes without saying, but just for everyone listening, like we spend a lot of time in the field looking for things, and we're always opportunistic, especially the flying insects that are very seasonal. Like you kind of get what you get, but I'm always looking around logs and flipping things and thinking, okay, one of these days I'm going to see the centipede. Like this was not the day.
Yeah.
I was so tired. I'm sure you guys were all tired. We were all tired. After, 3 weeks in the field, traveling to arguably one of the like most remote places in the world to film, and our first time in this country to be like, man, is this really? This is the final stretch.
Oh,
the
yeah.
centipede.
And not to mention, you had already gone through the mammoth wasp, the biting ants. There was so many things that you had gone through already before this.
Oh, my arms were fried. I was running out of canvas.
Yeah.
We did it's probably TMI, but like the blue bee, we actually had to go to my bicep because I ran out of like forearm
Yeah.
to do it on.
I think you're at bite and sting number 6 at this point, or 7, just from Borneo.
Yep, Borneo was the land of bites and stings, the gift that kept on giving. And sure enough, here's the last gift it gave us. Oh my goodness. Look at the size of that giant Asian. Look at how nasty that thing is.
So wet.
Yeah. Like, I think some of the insects that or I've been stung by are beautiful, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the velvet ants, even the tarantula hawk has like, it, in a way, it's a beautiful animal. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
These things are just like unleashed from the gates of hell.
Yeah.
They're disgusting. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I'm offending some people out there that keep these as pets, which why? But like they are.
Well, they feel dirty, to be honest. Like compared to like the like tarantula hawks and other bees and things that we were catching on the trip, like they have like a nice glimmer to them and like elegance. This thing is just like rage.
Yeah. And grimy.
Yeah.
They're not a clean creature.
No.
Like they're filthy and they're just fast and ugh.
Asian centipede. And a crazy looking one at that. Black with bright orange legs. And it looks aggressive. Oh, this is going to be the most painful experience I will have in Asia, going flesh to fangs with the giant Asian centipede.
All right, so let's talk about how I knew that, right? Like the fact that I've seen someone, coyote, get bit by the giant desert centipede that actually had to send him to it wasn't quite the ER. He went to an urgent care, but he had to get pain meds. Like that was the first time we'd ever had to, like, knock on wood, seek any kind of medical help with these bite sting tests. We do a ton of work researching, taking consult from like experts who have been either bitten or stung themselves or know of people. We do a lot of homework before we do these things. Even when we catch something that we don't know what it is, we'll do a deep dive. Overnight we'll think about it and we'll be like, okay, like, is this a real threat or not? And this, of course, I witnessed. It's like these are the real deal. And everyone I know who's been bitten by a centipede always says it's the worst one. So, like, this is one of those times where I knew, like, this is as bad as it's probably ever going to get in a jar.
Let's go set up the table. Oh my gosh. I don't usually take bites or stings that I know can put you in the hospital. Rarely,
Yeah,
like
right.
Maybe the stonefish is the only one in memory that I took, and I knew.
That's a question I have for you guys. Compared to the stonefish sting, which was also completely mental, did you guys think that this would be comparable, or were you more nervous for stonefish? Like, tell me your thoughts there.
There's more chaos around this one. Like I was more scared that this thing would just like latch onto you and like not let go, or like just really ravage you.
There was an element of control we had with the stonefish.
Yeah.
Like from when you caught it, seeing that it had no flight response, how like still it was, it felt like one of the more in control stings. Definitely more nervous about the venom, but
Yeah.
it felt like we had control. We were about a quarter mile from a hospital too, so
Yeah, we were in Radcliffe, home of the Bee Gees.
yeah, it definitely control is what we felt in that situation.
Yeah.
I will say that environment was scary though, knowing that not only did it have stonefish, but also blue ring.
Right.
And so it's like, even when you were just like a little bit in the tide pools, you were like, do I have a blue ring I'm about to step on because they're so camouflage, or a stonefish? So
Not to mention the blue ring octopus is like a phantom bite.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel a bite.
right.
And that's half the scariness of it. But
Typical Australia.
yeah, no, seriously. But yeah, like, it looks remote in this shot intentionally, but behind us, there was a whole mecca of like resorts, and there was a hospital, like you said, half a mile away. So, I think me personally, I was definitely really nervous about the stonefish just because of like the potential for like hospitalization. But I think like the pain, I was expecting the centipede to be way worse. And where we were certainly didn't help. We were very, very remote. I don't even know. I think it would have been probably like if I was going any kind of shock, like a flight somewhere. I don't think it would have been local hospital there.
Yeah. Maybe like hold you over, but we'd have to get you out of there.
Yeah. And that's always the biggest risk, is going into shock.
Yeah.
Of course, there are like the worst baddies out there in venom, like blue ring octopus or box jellyfish, or even like, the snakes, neurotoxic snakes like cobras and, crates, things like that. Those, you're going right to the hospital as soon as you know you're bitten, because like the venom kills people. Like it's not something you're just going to like ride out. But everything that we do is below that threshold. Like I'm not going to ever test, a king cobra bite. That's not going to happen. Like that's, I mean, not to get, crazy, but like, it's almost like that'd be like committing suicide. You just would never do that.
Yeah.
But, in terms of like the stonefish, a few people had died from shock from that creature, But actually, I felt like through all the research I had done on this one, like I thought that it was like grossly overestimated. However, maybe a story for another day.
Yeah.
It was very bad. But we can move on. So you guys were you more or less nervous for the centipede bite?
I would say overall a little bit more nervous given how remote we were. Like this would have caused big issues if you had an allergic reaction or anything like that.
There was a part of me that was excited for it too.
The centipede?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a major risk. This is a major risk. This is going to be one of the most painful experiences I ever go through in terms of animal bites. Okay, you guys ready? Let's get set up. We're going to have to do this fast because I don't want to lose my nerve. I know that the giant desert centipede.
I mean, looking at like the scale, I'd say those centipedes are pretty close in size.
Oh yeah.
Was coyotes.
Like I would even say maybe the Black Flame Centipede had bigger fangs, bigger head.
Yeah, I was gonna say bigger flames, bigger head, less fat body.
Yeah, the giant desert centipede is definitely like a girthier.
Yeah.
Like it's a beefy centipede. Those things are huge, and actually they can get a lot bigger than that too. But that was gnarly.
The only bite to.
Now this is what I thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is called foreshadowing. This is what I was expecting. That is what I thought was going to happen to me, which I knew the venom was going to be bad, but that's what I thought the bite was going to do. And we're about to see
Little did he know.
something very different happen.
That he had to seek medical attention after. I just did some research. Everyone that's been bitten.
Yeah, quick story about the coyote bite. Our friend Phil had been bit by a giant desert centipede, and he had also been bitten multiple times by Western diamondback rattlesnakes. And he said that the centipede bite was way worse, like many magnitudes worse in terms of pain than the snake bites. So, like we went into that bite knowing this, and then witnessing, I was a camera op on that video. So witnessing this firsthand, and I remember being at breakfast, right? We went to breakfast because we shot it like first thing in the morning in the desert. You got to shoot like first light. We went to breakfast afterward. And I remember like we got our order and Coyote got up and just started pacing the restaurant. Couldn't sit down, had to go outside. Couldn't even sit and eat. And like as soon as we got the check and left, obviously, went outside and he's like, I got to go to urgent care because I can't. And this is off camera. This isn't like, there's no showman points for any of this. Like this is like real deal. We had to go to urgent care so he could get on some pain relief medication. And, that was the first and only time that ever happened. So knowing all this, right, this has been like stewing in the back of my mind for years. This moment, I was like, at this point, just going through the motions. And, you know, we've done so many of these bite sting videos for the Bite Sting Index that there is a little bit of a formula to all this, right? And how much do you guys take into account of that? Like when you're getting your shots, it's process.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of check it off as you go.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of it's always a little chaotic, but at this point we pretty much are just like going through the motion every time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I remember from when I was shooting, like I was very focused on like getting the shots, that laundry list of like the B-roll shots and all these things. Like it's a production. That's one thing that I do want to maybe talk a little bit about real quick. I know we're putting off the inevitable here. I've seen this bite again, but our show it's a production, right? We're creating a story. That's why I'm so excited about this podcast, because it's going to let us kind of air out some of the things that are, I would call more of like the reality of the situation. Whereas, you know, what we make for the Brave Wilderness channel is very much a produced product of that reality.
Mm.
And like, what is your perspective of that?
Yeah, it's really, over the course of time, it's kind of boiled down to like the high octane excitement of the actual catch as it's unfolding, and then the bite itself.
Yeah.
And then necessary information that you need to understand what you're about to go through. But yeah, it's really just over time, a lot of the backstory and the setting has kind of been lost kind of by virtue of what we need to do to get these videos lots of views on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this all right here is a blur to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember
Yeah.
the in-betweens. I remember the catch. I remember what happened. Like the process of it all, the production of it all. I mean, we made over 1,000 videos at this point. It's hard to recall unless I'm seeing the footage back any individual moment. We're talking about a decade's worth of like adventure action. So, you know, for this one, I did seek refuge in the production. Like at this moment, I'm like, I just gotta like get to the point, the go or no go. And once I get there, I'll deal with the anxiety and the fear of what I'm about to experience. But yeah, that's something that I get asked a lot. Like, oh, are you nervous? Are you afraid? And it's like, not until the actual moment. Like at this point, it's like all the production, all the sauce that goes into the stew, right? Like that stuff is just like autopilot almost.
Centipede claims it's not only the worst animal bite of their life, it is the worst pain they have ever endured. Get out some things I need. Forget forceps. This centipede needs the snake hook. Definitely need.
True. Could you imagine trying to use a little set of forceps? You would get bit instantly. Like had to use a snake hook with this.
Stay kid on standby. If you guys have seen any of our bite sting videos by now, then you already know I don't go anywhere without an EpiPen. Of course, there's
still
always
have
a
never
chance
used
for
an
an
EpiPen.
allergic
Actually, I've had a
reaction.
couple expire.
So
on
what would that do for you in a medical sense? Like if you felt like you were going into shock, what would the EpiPen allow you to do?
So epinephrine is a pharmaceutical like first aid that you use whenever you feel like you're going into shock. It basically suppresses your immunodefense in your body from like inflammation. So it's kind of like a shot of adrenaline, and it will give you enough time to get you to a hospital. So what it's going to do is it's going to just like kind of keep things status quo and maybe reduce some of the inflammation, and will give you the ability to seek real help. Now, I will say one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they do inject themselves with epinephrine is thinking that that's the cure. Like I'm done now. And you actually hear story. I've heard stories of a lot of people actually like going into full blown shock at night after they went to bed because they took an epinephrine shot. Maybe they got stung by a bee or whatever. And once that epinephrine wears off, your body's going right back to fight mode. Whoa. And you're back in trouble. So if you have to use epinephrine, you're going to the hospital. Like it's not like taking a couple Advil and like sleeping it off. Like that's going to be a real deal situation. But I mean, you certainly would rather have it than not have it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And some people are allergic to epinephrine too. I got to point that out. Like we always tell people, like, you know, I'm making decisions for my safety and the team safety when we go on these trips, but like everybody's different. Everybody reacts differently to medications. Everybody acts differently to venom. Everybody reacts differently even to like the environment, like the heat. I remember this day it was scorching hot, so hot, like you could barely think. Your head was like cooking under your hat.
From this centipede, it's
consult your doctor.
Consult your dog. Yeah, good disclaimer.
Now, guys, the pain that this animal can inflict, it's going to be something. Let's get this centipede into a more clear container so we can take a better look at it. Now, we've got animal experts all behind the cameras ready to catch the centipede if it gets away, but I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try to get it into this container, hopefully without much fanfare. Here we go.
It honestly moves like something that's possessed.
Yes.
Like
just constant motion.
Yeah.
It's always trying to grab something.
Yeah.
It's in a constant state of attack.
Yeah.
Like that's maybe the best way to describe how a centipede moves. It is constantly looking to inflict a bite. There's no casual.
Yeah.
It's always full go, ready to like just strike at any moment.
Also, those cases are like pretty slick. It's impressive that it can like grapple onto the sides.
My goodness.
I think it's
What
just
a
like
beast.
using its body to
My
actually
heart's,
like
jumping out of my
counterweight
chest, guys,
itself.
like,
But yeah, maybe
having
a
an
little
out-of-body
bit.
Those
experience
back
right
legs
now.
are creepy too. They just
Let's get in for a close look.
Well, they have a
at
false
the
head.
giant Asian
So like that's
centipede.
something that that's probably not a good shot to show.
Now,
this.
if you come anywhere to East Asia,
there are
you're gonna see
there are things that eat centipedes, like birds and other animals in the environment will actually like hunt a centipede. So they have a false head at the back. That's why those final two legs are so long to make it look like antenna.
oh.
Yeah. But
But not a
it's easy
single
for us to see the
centipede
business
has
in is
compared to the
those two fangs,
intimidation
which are modified
of what I'm
legs.
holding
They are
in my hand now.
basically
This
like 2
is
additional
not
legs that have
only
venom glands. They're like
A
hypodermic
giant
needles.
Asian centipede. It is the Black Flame morph.
Andrew, how excited were you when you found out the common name?
Very, very. That is clickable.
Yeah,
Black Flame Centipede.
you knew that was going to make a great title.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Yeah, and this is a good venue to talk about, like, what we choose to film and not film in the field, and a lot of it is based on how we feel the audience will react to it.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously out there making real-time decisions as opportunities present themselves, but when we started the channel, we used to film like literally everything, but now after making so many videos, we see what the audience is gravitating toward, which changes, by the way. Like, it's not always the same. It changes over the years, but I knew when we saw this centipede, I'm like, okay, this is a banger. Like, we're definitely going to shoot this. But then once you found out the common name, I was like, oh, it's going to score some major CTR points.
Oh yeah.
Andrew, what's a CTR? What is that?
CTR is the click-through rate. So that measures the amount of people who see the title and thumbnail, and then the percentage of those people who then click on that video as a result of the title and thumbnail. So when you have a thumbnail like this one, where you're screaming in pain and there's a centipede mauling your forearm, which was completely accurate to what happened, and a title like that with the Black Flame Centipede, it's gonna have a good score.
Yeah,
good,
and
good CTR.
There's a term out there, clickbait. We've all heard that term. That's one of my proudest attributes of the Brave Wilderness work, the body of work, is unless we're intentionally making a joke, we've never clickbaited. What you see is what you get.
That thumbnail is really pretty accurate. It's definitely stylized a little bit, but I mean that. Should I say that?
Oh yeah, no, it's
yeah.
fine. You can talk about any inside baseball at all. Like guys, like, just so you know, we do use Photoshop on our thumbnails. Like,
yeah,
I mean, you have to do it because a real photograph not only is hard to get in the field and can take. I mean, these animals, they don't have hours to stand and pose, so we may not get the photo the way we wanted. But also, like, you're in an arena in that thumbnail, and that's why you have to change colors, move a piece here, take out of a distraction, reduce the contrast. We could probably have a whole podcast on like how to make thumbnails. We probably will, but tell us in the comments if that's something you want to know, because we can nerd out all day on CTR.
But the content of that thumbnail is accurate to what happens. I mean, that thing
100%.
bites the heck out of you.
Yeah, 100%. We do aim to maintain reality in the thumbnails, even though it's sometimes curated.
Yeah, it's still a promise of what you're going to get within the video.
Yeah.
Like, if you clicked on it and you actually don't get bitten by the centipede,
that would be clickbait.
Right.
All right.
Meaning it has a dark body met with red or orange feet, like it just came running out of an inferno. But right now,
I wanted to say like it came running out of the gates of hell, because that's, I mean, if there is, all right, look, again, I find all animals fascinating, but if there was an animal that you could say is the most evil,
Hands down.
Is
yeah,
it
so
right?
quickly? Yeah. Second you saw it, you're like, that thing's not good.
Yeah. No way. What was in the comments? Somebody called it like, it's like danger noodle for snakes. I forget, but like somebody had a great line. I forgot it.
want the cameras to get in close and get as many good shots as you can of this centipede, because there's a good chance once I'm bit, I'm gonna absolutely freak out. The centipede's gonna run away, and this will be the last glimpse we have of it. Now, centipedes are venomous. You could see the many sets of dagger-like legs it has up and down its body, but at the front of the head, it has two modified legs that are like hypodermic needles that are attached to two venom glands. Why does it need this venom? Because these are some of the most aggressive predators in the world, not just in the rainforest.
Now, I'm going to say right now, for anybody watching this podcast, usually we probably won't watch full episodes on this. Mm-hmm. But this one is like sensational. Like it's just like everything about that centipede is like, I mean, it's retention.
Not just in Borneo, the giant centipede knows no limits.
I feel like I should know this. Does it have a tongue? Like inside, like do they have like because you
They
can
have
see it like
mouth
cleaning
parts.
itself, you know.
It
And
doesn't
like,
have a tongue in the sense of like we have a tongue.
Yeah.
It has mouth parts.
Yeah.
I don't know if centipedes can taste.
Right.
I'm sure they can sense. Like there's a chemical transaction, so it knows what's food and what isn't food, what it can eat. But I don't think they taste like we do.
That it can grapple its many sets of arms on. We're talking things like lizards, snakes, frogs, mammals, birds, anything that it can overtake.
Look at that.
Is
Eating a lizard.
Oh God.
And that looks like a giant desert centipede or some other species, but like all centipedes are
They're just going after anything.
they're vicious killers. I mean, they are. These things, let's all be thankful that centipedes grow only as big as they do.
Yeah.
Because if there was like even like a chihuahua sized centipede, I think it would be something, it'd probably be the most feared animal on the planet.
Yeah. It's coming for you if it's that size.
And they are strong for their size. It's
food
unbelievable.
for a centipede. There's no bounds, there's no safety from this creature. They can climb, they can burrow down deep beneath the earth, they can run.
I do want to
across
give a quick
land.
shout out to Andrew for scoring this video. He did a great
A
job.
great speed.
Oh, thank you.
The only thing
Scary.
it can't do is
I think the
fly,
song name
but a
is
lot of the
Grubby
bites
Maggots.
are for centipedes falling from branches up high,
Fitting.
landing on them, crawling down their shirt, and then getting multiple bites in. And I have never taken a bite from a centipede before. This is going to be my first and hopefully my last chomp. For lack of better words, living nightmares. And if you're asking yourself, Mark, are you afraid right now? I am not ashamed to admit I'm afraid of those fangs. I think I've got to get it out of this container, guys, and we've got to get to the bite. How am I going to rate
We've
this
gone
bite?
through a lot of facts now. I feel like that actual moment, what you're presenting right now, is kind of the realization that the inevitable is coming.
It's coming. This is probably the closest right here. Watch this. You can't even see it. It moves so fast, but that's easily the closest I've ever been to unintentionally taking a bite or sting before we're ready.
And shout out to Lockie too, from Australian Wildlife Encounters. Yeah.
Look at it
Yeah.
already trying to bite the snake hook. And don't
I
worry,
mean,
guys.
in all fairness, it's just trying to get
These
away.
centipedes
right
are
there.
almost crush proof.
And they are they are seriously strong animals. Like I don't think you could like pop a centipede by like just using the force of your hand. It would have to be like a car would run over it or something. Like they are so strong.
Actually, we did see some crushed centipedes on the road.
Yeah, that's what
and
I
they
mean.
stay as like one piece. Like they still look like that, except just slightly flattened.
Yeah,
like it's not like they pop or anything. They're really
and their skin is like there's exoskeleton, the shell. It's kind of like almost like a leathery plastic. So it does flex a little bit, but it's still like rigid.
They really
It's like
can't be
living
hurt.
plastic. That's probably the best way to describe how they feel.
Look at that. Look at it biting the snake
Yeah,
hook.
there you go, Andrew. And then of course, bang. Like it did graze my finger.
Get away.
Oh my gosh! Like look how wide the fangs got right there. Look at that. It's as wide as
whole
my thumb.
Great shot, Asa.
Look how messed up my thumb is. Oh,
Yeah.
it's-
There it is. Got a good grip on its head. Look at those fangs, guys. And don't worry, I'm not hurting the centipede at all. It's going to be hurting me. These things are almost indestructible.
He's ready to chomp.
Very ready to chomp. All right, you guys ready? We're going to do this. All right. Can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm Mark Vins, and I'm about to enter the bite zone with the terror of Borneo, the giant Asian centipede.
So this is the moment. This is the moment where like fear turns on. It's like the switch flips. And what's funny is, guys, we usually have to do this line like 3 or 4 times just to make sure we get it. But really, I do that repetition because like it's just me like kind of psyching myself up for it. Because it is like it's there is this moment where you know, like in your head you decide it's like jumping off something, right? Like we've all had that, whatever it is, like there's this moment where, like if I make this decision, I can't unmake this. I have to follow through, and I'm going to suffer the consequences. This is like that to like an extreme.
On 3, 1, 2, 3.
Just like felt it.
Oh God! No, it burns. I gotta put it down. Help me with the snake hook, Lockie. Lockie, help me. Help me. Somebody get its head. Somebody get its head off of me. Off of me. Off of me. Oh! Gah! Gah! Ah! Gah! Ah! Ah! Ah!
Look at that.
Oh man.
Like straight up vampire bite. Oh gosh. I felt that. Like my whole body just like, oh dude.
What, like in the seconds afterwards, what were you thinking? Like when you were like, whoa, like what is going through your mind? Like, are you thinking ahead at all? Are you just in the moment entirely? Like, are you thinking, like, how soon does the hospital thought like kind of cross your mind? Like, did I go too far?
You're not thinking about any kind of logistics. You're just like dealing with the present pain that I'm experiencing. And the only thought that kept going through my mind is like, why did I do this? This was so stupid.
I always know it's bad when we usually cut it, but there's usually like one quick swear right after.
Yeah.
And like if you do something like that, I'm like, yep, it was bad. Here we go. And then it's like game on for the next 25 minutes of just pain.
I do have a question for Ace though. In that moment, because I used to shoot the macro, it is kind of high pressure.
Oh, it's super scary.
I don't think I have gotten the macro shot for something as singular as this, because this is a one and done, no do-overs. So what are you thinking?
You can't miss the shot. Like you are in like an elevated state of, you have a lot of adrenaline pumping. And I think a lot of people don't understand, like when you are doing a macro shot, how thin kind of a focus point you have.
Any tiny, like breathing moves.
Yeah, it's like not, we're shooting this amount of space, compared to getting a full frame. And so like even just my hand moving that much is going to completely throw it off. If I move 2 millimeters to the left or right, you missed it. Yeah, you missed it.
You missed the whole shot.
Yeah. If you breathe wrong, you missed the shot.
I'm so glad you got that shot, because there's no way I mean, I never say never, but I don't expect to do another centipede bite. It was that bad. Like, I mean, look at my arm, dude. Like that's not only envenomation, but like just the mechanical like flesh wound of the bite. Those fangs, again, I pointed out the earlier shot of what Coyote experienced. Like, I don't know what the deal was. Maybe that centipede didn't have sharp enough fangs, but this centipede's fangs instantly, just like went right under the skin. I mean, like fully under the skin. Not like, popped a couple holes. Like I felt the fangs literally pull up and then start to push up against themselves underneath my skin.
Let's look at it back.
It was like if you were to like take a fish hook and just.
Oh man.
Yeah. It was so gnarly. Yeah, you can see it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Ace's face in the background, just grimacing already.
Like look at that shot right there.
Oh god, its eyes.
It's under the skin. Like it's in. It's not like pushing the skin down. It is fully in. So like I got it so dirty from that centipede, man. And
oh God.
I mean, yeah, like you asked me like what's going through your mind, like logistics. Like I mean, I'm like first thought is get it out of you. Like somebody get the centipede, get this thing out, get it away from me. And then like I felt the immediate rush of pain, and it's like it's not just like the local pain, like your whole body just like erupts with like, you have the adrenaline, you have like increased like heart rate. You could feel your blood like pumping through your neck. Like your whole body's like on red alert. Like we're under attack. Something bad is happening right now and we need to stop this. And I think that's why, like, that's like the running around. Like I saw in the comments, like some people are like, oh, you know, like he's really like doing it up for the cameras and all that stuff. Like, no, man, like you're like literally your every cell in your body's like freaking out and you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's the major panic that sets in, is like the unknown of like, how bad is this really going to get? Because in this situation, like you have zero clue of just how worse of a situation you're going to be in a minute. And that's the freak out. Like I knew I was going to freak out. I knew it. But I did not expect that. I did not expect the flesh wound of it all and have like the vampire bite from this animal.
It was impressive how much it started to run quickly too. Like sometimes, we get a speck of blood, but like this was a lot of blood.
Yeah, that's the venom.
Also, let's circle back to the sweat. He doesn't look sweaty, but then when you realize that there is only that single patch of dryness on his pant, that is how sweaty we are.
That is it.
Yeah, it wasn't raining. Everything
else is soaked through with sweat.
Yeah, that shirt
is light blue.
Look, you can see it at the top of the hat too, a little bit right there. But yeah, fully soaked through. Thank God it was a little overcast that day. It was a much needed relief, but it was still scorching. So yeah, I was just looking for something to like jet out. I wanted to like remove any residual venom that was there and to try to clean it off for the cameras, frankly. Like I was, another thing I want to make mention is I saw in the comments, like people,
Oh my God, guys, that's so bad.
I said thanks. I forget who handed me the first aid.
Asa.
Asa.
Oh, yeah.
I said thanks. Because yes, I'm dealing with the situation, but I'm still like in production mode.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you guys know, I don't bark at you. Like I usually ask, I'm kind, please, thank you. Like that's part of my DNA. And when I'm handing something, thanks, like it was a curt thanks, but it was still like, I was happy, I was appreciative that you gave it to me, but I was still dealing with the situation. And like in that moment, I wanted to like get the bite wound clean because I didn't know how bad it was. Like I didn't know if I had like skin lopped off or like what I was actually dealing with. So I wanted to see it. And then I wanted to get the blood off for the video because I wanted to be able to post this thing.
Yeah, that's something, it's almost a little inside baseball. Is we usually have to clean it up earlier than maybe you would otherwise.
Yeah.
So that we can actually show you the video without it getting demonetized.
Yeah. Monetization's definitely like important from a business perspective and, paying for these adventures and the whole thing. So we want to say, we always, stay within the, creator guidelines that YouTube puts out, but some of them are definitely like on the edge. This is certainly all the way to the edge for sure. So I wanted to at least have a portion of this video where we didn't have like a trail of blood streaming down my arm.
Oh my God, guys, that's so bad.
It's all for science.
It's all for science. Yeah, let's talk about why. Okay, because that's this is our first time doing this, like really unpacking one of these videos. And for the casual viewer, somebody who just like is served the centipede bite video on YouTube, I can totally understand why you would ask why. Like, what the heck is this guy doing? Like, this is so stupid, like anything for clicks. And yeah, if you don't know about Brave Wilderness, you don't know what we're doing here, I could appreciate that perspective. But the why is we're taking a page out of the book of Justin Schmidt, the late great Justin Schmidt, entomologist who wrote the book Sting of the Wild, which we credit as like one of the major influences that started this whole thing, this Brave Wilderness. And he went around the world and he got stung by like 80 different insects, like pioneered this idea of creating a ranking and quantifying these different, venoms of these insects. And we've taken it now a step further. And because there's not only like stinging insects, there's things that bite, right? There's arachnids that he didn't classify. So we're trying to create the official ranking or scale of all of these bites and stings that you may encounter on an adventure. So it is a scientific approach to why we're doing these things, but also like we're here to entertain.
Right.
We're here to make it. We want to make nature exciting, and there's certainly people out there doing it differently. There's the David Attenboroughs. Like, we're not doing that. We're not making Planet Earth on Brave Wilderness. We do appreciate high quality cinematography. Thank you guys. We want to make the immersion high quality and blue chip, but our priority is to educate and entertain you.
Plus, honestly, when we go to look up information about these bites and stings, like, for instance, the centipede, there's not a lot of information about them anyway. Like, we're kind of paving the way in terms of actually documenting what happens to a healthy person when they get bit, barring any allergies, because you don't have any really
Not so
reactions.
far.
Yeah,
not so far.
Yeah, not so far.
But yeah, I mean, I'll admit, it's a very weird tranche that we have found ourselves in. When we started Brave Wilderness, it was very much like Coyote and I wanted to make a living encyclopedia of all these bizarre, misunderstood animals, like the dangerous, the creepy, the things you don't know about. We found this book, Sting of the Wild, I just talked about, and we decided to make video essays to follow in the footsteps of Justin Schmidt. And now I'm at the point where I'm doing it, and we're creating like this brand new catalog that has never been created or thought of before. And we still make other videos. Like, this isn't all we do. It just so happens out of the 6-ish billion views on Brave Wilderness, probably 5 billion of them are these types of videos. And it's what the audience is entertained by. It's what they want to watch. And there's certainly, we appreciate that. We appreciate our audience clicking on our videos. We want people to get excited about what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, in a way, I think humans have been doing something like this for thousands of years, in a way. Like, going back to if we were hunter-gatherers, someone's got to find out if the plant is poisonous. Someone's got to be the first one to do
Andrew,
it.
do it.
Exactly. And in this case, Mark is finding out just how bad it is.
Yeah. Like, how bad is it? And I think, that's another thing that I wanted to touch on. And I was almost going down this rabbit hole when we were looking at the stonefish footage. But I got to be honest, guys, like, and this is certainly, everybody's different, but I think a lot of these stings and bites are way exaggerated. They're way overblown. I've actually yet to find one that's the opposite, where it was so much worse than advertised. It's always advertised as like potentially fatal, and it's not. Now, have I been impressed? Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that. When I was definitely impressed by the power of that centipede's bite and venom. I mean, the bark scorpion is still number one on the BSI. Extremely painful experience. But the like stonefish, everybody thinks if you get stung by stonefish, you're going to die. And we're here to, as much as we're here to show you what happens, we're here to disprove a lot of the hyperbole that's out there on the internet, because there's a lot of people that just have, frankly, no place weighing in on it. Until you go through it or know someone who's gone through it, you shouldn't talk about it.
I mean, I think a lot of people are weighing in from the same sources. Like they'll go online, quickly do a search and be like, oh, this is supposed to be one of the worst, or this isn't.
Yeah.
But everyone's getting their same information. And then those sources are only coming off of like one or two people that have actually maybe documented it in the past, or like almost like folklore around them.
Totally. And that's why it's so important. And one of the reasons why I wanted to create this podcast is because I think that information is going to continue to expand, right? Like, with technology and our access to communication tools, like, there's going to be more and more and more information available to you every single day. But you have to have trusted sources. You have to be able to trust where your information is coming from. And to me, the best way to do that is to look at who's putting out the information. And in our way at Brave Wilderness, this podcast is going to represent like the authority on what we do, like the honest take and the authenticity of what these experiences are. We'll talk about some of the inside baseball and like how we pulled it off. Of course, like do we use like movie magic macro shots? Of course, it's a production.
And this is what I'll say about that too, is like, if we're bumping in on like an actual sting or bite, it's like, we probably had you do it more than once. So if anything, it's worse than like people being like, oh, he didn't really take the sting. It's like, no, he had to do it multiple times because we have like 5 camera angles of it.
I'm here to tell you and stamp it with a guarantee and personal promise. I always take the sting. Yeah. If I'm telling you I'm stung or bitten, I really, really am. So that is, you know, an example of like, some people are going to be skeptical, but I'm here to tell you, like, it's all legit. The production of it all, this format is supposed to be like the unproduced version and the behind the scenes events and the accounts of it all, us getting to relive it once the video's made. But like information out there, you really got to be able to trust who you're hearing things from or who you're reading from. And I believe that's why I'm so excited about podcasts. I not only listen to a number of podcasts, but I consider like that one-to-one connection with the person giving information as like, I want to find sources that I can trust. And I hope everybody listening to this can take my word for it. Like, this is a venue you can trust because this is the unguarded perspective.
It's a firsthand account.
Yeah. And this is not a production. This is not a show. This is us reliving what we actually did. Speaking of reliving, let's wrap up.
Heart is accelerating. I'm like 200 beats a minute right now. I can feel my pulse. It's not good. This is not good. Ah!
Yep. I'm just gonna scrub ahead a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to see the whole video, guys, it's out on the channel. We'll probably link to it in the description. There's this thing cam again. Slow mo. Didn't feel the fangs pop through.
Wow.
Like they were they're so sharp. Just instantly in there.
That was so stupid. What was I thinking?
And I don't know if you guys noticed,
oh my God.
but when I was holding it there, I was pinning it, its legs came around. I don't know if I have that shot.
Please tell me you guys got that
shot. It's
shot.
not in that one. You just scrub back in the video.
I'm never doing that again.
But it actually, the legs themselves are needle sharp. They're like, and they scratched me up. You can actually see, we'll go through like.
I think in the aftermath.
Yeah, the aftermath. Oh, there's the bark scorpion, still number 1.
My pain continued to build even as I released the centipede.
Yeah.
The bite zone swelled and radiated pain throughout my entire arm. It totally
look at that. Up. That's just from a few seconds. It's, you know, if these are not animals you want to hold. I hope that's obvious. But they're incredibly strong, and those legs are needle, like I said, needle sharp, and will slice you up.
Scraped up my other arm while I was holding it, using its razor sharp legs to dig into my skin. In a strange new effect, it reignited my burn from the fireworm, which
oddly
at this point was months old.
Reignited the fireworm stings from like a month prior. Asa, you and I were down in Florida filming that video.
Yep.
That was surprising. Were you surprised to see that?
I mean, yeah. Well, once the fireworm got you when we were down in Florida, I knew it was going to be bad for a while because it left so many spines on your arm. It was crazy.
I don't know if we have time to go down that rabbit hole. That's definitely a video we will revisit.
Oh, gosh.
That was a bad one. And actually,
it's still...
I would say, like, to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's still discolored.
I have, like, a lot of, like, residual scarring from the fireworm and nothing else. Like, actually, you can still see. Yeah, there's the 2 puncture wounds there from the centipede right there. People always want to see that from coyote. They're like, oh, roll up your sleeves. I want to see all the scars. And luckily, a lot of these stings don't scar, but some of them do. Stay away from fireworms.
Your left arm definitely gets the worst of it, I would say. That's our go-to.
Yep. I don't have any tattoos, but I've got a few insect sting scars. All right.
Turn for the worst. The pain.
Let's see where we ranked it.
And after 24 hours, all of the intensity of the pain had subsided. Don't get me wrong, it was still very painful by any standard, but ultimately, the giant Asian centipede's initial pain was much worse than its aftermath, leading to an aftermath score of an 8.8 out of 10. Altogether, giving the giant Asian centipede a rank of a 9.6 on the Brave Wilderness Bite Sting Index, climbing it all the way up to number 2 of all time, but falling just short of the Arizona bark scorpion.
A lot of people were not happy that I ranked it below the bark scorpion, but I got to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. Like, it's the aftermath.
I mean, we thought the production was basically done. We had like 4 days left, and like seeing how much distress that you were in that moment, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much the end of the show. But but you came back. We shot. Yeah, exactly. But we shot more videos afterwards, and it didn't disable you the way I thought it would for like days on.
Well, that's
end.
what we were also told, was like the aftermath is just as bad as the actual bite itself.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be crippled and in just like extreme pain for days and days and days.
That's what I expected. And yeah, like I would say after about 12 hours and the swelling started to go down and the pain like really subsided, like that's when I knew. I'm like, I'm not gonna have to go to the hospital. I didn't take any pain meds. You know, in full fairness to what Coyote went through with the desert centipede, like they're different species, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like different venom. I suppose one day I may have to go up against the desert centipede, but like I said, I'm not wishing for it. I don't want it. But the aftermath was just not nearly as impressive as the bark scorpion was.
Now, what was the bark scorpion like?
The bark scorpion not only was tremendously and instantly painful, like it had a spreading paralysis effect. Ooh. Where I was stung just on the finger and it covered the top of my hand, then the whole hand. When I say paralysis effect, it's not that I couldn't move my hand. It just, everything went numb. It almost like, you know, when you get like a Charlie horse or like you get stunned and you can't feel anything. It's like pins and needles. So like pins and needles all over, and there's no actual feeling.
Oh, weird.
So it's like this weird, like electrical pain sensation. It's very unique. And then it started spreading at my arm, and that's what really freaked me out. And it went all the way up to like halfway up my bicep. And I remember that when I was like, okay, probably going to the hospital, because there's been some fatalities from the bark scorpion, mostly people who have other conditions or children. But like, I was worried. I was like, oh man, I really punched my ticket to the hospital this time. Luckily, it stopped there and started to recede, but it took me a long time before it all went away. Like, you know, the hand particularly took many, many days, I think maybe even weeks to go away completely. So like the aftermath was just so much scarier and prolonged with the bark scorpion that I just couldn't rate the centipede higher. Didn't you say you had some comments? You want to talk about some of the audience reaction to this?
A couple comments, actually. It was strewn across a few that basically said your acting on this one is Oscar worthy, and that they saw the legs or the pinchers going, but they didn't see the fang holes themselves. They thought that there should be two smaller holes in between the pinchers.
Little ones.
That would be the actual fangs injecting the venom. So it looks like they skipped around and didn't find out that the pinchers are actually modified.
I think they need to like turn the brightness up on their screen or something. Like, how did you not see?
The venom is in those.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
anyway.
Yeah, to be clear, the venom, it's in the fangs. At the base of the fangs, we can go to the beginning of the video just so we get a good shot of this. The base,
which I think we explain.
Yeah, the venom is in those large like bases to the fangs. The fangs are there. They are modified legs, but they are not legs. They don't use those to walk. They're only there to kill. Like, that's what they use them for. And they do take down major prey. We showed it eating a lizard, but like a centipede will take fish. There's aquatic centipedes, as if you needed any more fear factors for this animal. Like, there's centipedes that live in the water. There are centipedes that live in trees, so they'll take birds, especially like baby birds. They'll take rodents. They'll obviously other insects. I wonder if there's like an insect that could go up against a centipede and win.
An insect? I think that'd be a tall order for an insect.
Yeah, it's kind of the ultimate.
Are they the King Kong of all?
I think
like,
so.
I mean,
invertebrates. They gotta be.
I'm trying to think of one that I would bet on being able to take out a centipede.
Maybe some sort of scorpion species, but that's kind of the only thing that comes to mind.
Like scorpions can't move that fast,
and they're not.
Yeah,
like tarantulas are fragile. They're not nearly as strong. Like, these are so much stronger than any spiders I've ever held.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think we're gonna stop it at that because I'm feeling the temptation to like delve into other videos, and I know we want to do that on future podcasts, but appreciate you both taking the time to relive this magic memory with me today. For anybody who hasn't seen Bitten by a Black Flame Centipede video on Brave Wilderness, we're going to put the link in the description below so you can check that out. Make sure to tell us in the comment section, guys, if there's anything else particularly you want to hear about in the history of Brave Wilderness. Nothing's off limits. And we're going to be talking about future videos, past videos, and adventures here on the Becoming Brave podcast and future episodes. We'll see you next time.